Hi, guys. It's Michael, and it's so good to see you guys here today. And I think both of my guests may not be able to join us tonight, but that's not going to stop us because what we're going to talk about tonight is like so important. And many of us don't even realize how important this is. So let me have a sip of my coffee. Good to see all my lovely people in my chat there. Hello, girls. How are you doing? Ladies. So it was really interesting. We always try to think of something that's going to be helpful for all of us in all our affairs during our daily practices with our pets. And today I really wanted to um, talk about toxins. So let me do my entry and we'll get kicked off there. And it may just be us tonight, which is great. And I love it. We could get real intimate here, talk about good old times, right? Okay, guys, let's go back to this. Okay, welcome back to the Pets Journey, everybody. I'm Michael, I'm your host, and today we're shining a light on a silent danger in so many of our homes, toxins that harm our pets, from the floor cleaners to the scented candles to these hidden culprits that could be affecting your pet's health more than you realize. And what I'm going to add to that, it could be even affecting your health more than you realize. I was hoping to have a couple friends here today, Pam and Jenny, but they are a little held up. So we'll see if they join up with us here in a little bit. But today I'm going to be breaking down like the 20 most common toxin and why they're so important, that we keep our eye on them and make sure that they're not out of control inside of our house, and use as less of them, if not none of them, if we can, which I know is really hard. I know my guy here, he cleans, and we use a lot of chemicals. And so I'm trying to really break that away from our cleaning habits, just because they're really bad for us and we don't realize how bad they are. So that's what we're here to talk about today, is we're talking about all our toxins that we're floating around with every single day. It's all, oh, wait. Okay. So Pam's here. She said that I may have sent her the wrong. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and send Pam and them. Give me 1 second, you guys. This is all that technical stuff that happens all the time. So we'll just see what we've got here. Boom. There we go. Okay, let's see what happens. So anyway, so you guys, we walk around the house all the time and we walk around our living spaces, and there's toxins. We use air bleach. I'm just going to go down this nasty list I see in front of us because we are all guilty of it and we have it all throughout our house. I know I have many of these things that are around the house. And okay, we've got Pam here. Let's bring her up to stage. Hello, Miss Pam. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. How are you?
Good. I know this technology. I just laugh at it now. I'm like, oh, okay, just
I know.
it is what it is, right?
Mm-hmm. I'm going to share this to my audience real quick.
Yeah. So everybody, this is Pam Roussell. She's with Purrrfectly Holistic. We've had her on the show. She's part of our partner on this show at this channel at this time. So we're so happy that she made it tonight.
Yes.
And we are just happy to see you. How's your day?
Oh, it's been good. It's been busy, but it's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a busy day. So maybe I did the same thing with Jenny at FloppyCats. Here's Jenny. Hey guys.
You sure did. You
I
sure
did.
Yes,
Did
you
I?
did.
And you guys, I was so slick. Even my mods will even tell you, I was like so slick. Well, my ladies, they're running a little behind traffic. Maybe they're in traffic or something like that. But we'll just have our own show. And then all of a sudden, little Miss Pam puts up her little message. Psst, psst, I'm here, but I don't have the link. And I'm like, oh shit, this technology.
Well, I think it's from a different show that you've programmed or something. Like
Oh, maybe
and you sent us
it's
the
for
wrong.
another one that's coming up. Right. It was with
Yeah.
this with
So
Dr.
we were probably waiting in the wrong waiting room. It's okay.
Oh yeah, you're
Totally
waiting.
agree.
Hey, that's traveling to the future. You're back to the future. You're
Yeah,
traveling to the future somewhere, waiting for it to hop. Yeah,
that's exactly right.
that's fun. How was your day, Jenny? Jenny, did I lose you?
Great. Productive, which was nice.
How's that McDonald's
So
coffee
can you
doing
see
right now?
Hi. I was trying to like get everything posted.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you have to like click,
Um,
do all that stuff.
yes.
You know, one of the craziest
But it
things.
was great. It was very productive.
Good. And back to you, Pam. Yours was okay. Just busy. Just
It was just an odd, unusual, busy day, but it was good. It was good. Yeah.
it was interesting for me because I'm always like you
There's
guys
like
know
a
I have two
lag.
channels. I post to two different channels, and one of my channels I have maybe close to like 5,000 followers. So we end up having like it's interesting because like this channel just is we're building it and we just get so many followers that it shows here, but we actually have a lot more followers that actually are following us right now, which is interesting, and actually sees the show after the fact.
Yeah.
And I'm a really nice guy, and I always try to do like everything really, I'm just a nice guy. I was bullied in school and all that. And then I find out that, I'm neurodivergent, and then I start reading about it, and it makes sense to me why I'm just who I am. I talk a lot, I go on, I explain so much, but it's just, it takes all of us to make the world go around.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm learning not to be so nice sometimes, and it's hard. It really is. For me, it's really hard not to be nice all the time. And I'm waiting for this shipment. I told Jenny this, that I was having trouble with this shipment, right?
Oh yeah, your syringes?
Yeah, the syringes.
Yes.
And it's supposed to be door-to-door, delivery. And that's what we had before. So they were just the rep was supposed to just do the exact same thing. Well, the rep left, and it was a new rep, and the rep didn't follow the instructions of how we worked before. And all of a sudden I started getting these calls from all these shippers saying, well, we need you to sign this document. We need you to sign this document. We need the transport of that. And we need this transport number. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I'm like, I'm not the shipper. I'm like, I'm just the person that's receiving it at the door. And I'm trying to be nice during this whole process. And, I meet someone, and he's a real sweet guy, and we became friends with him, but it was like, it got to the point where all of a sudden the shipper must have realized they made a mistake.
Imagine that.
And he was trying to pass it on to me, and he was like, because maybe I'm the nice guy, and had me try to sign this form saying that we're not going to hold the other shipping company harmless because there was a document that wasn't filled out, and the fine for not filling out that document before the shipment came was $10,000.
Whatever, they can pay it.
And I'm like going, that's more than my order.
Right.
I'm like, that's 3 times more than my order. And I'm sitting here stressing out about it. And so then I'm like going, okay, what do I wait? I've got clips coming in any moment. I've got syringes coming in any moment. Maybe I wait. I just need to have one in my hand, so I have a little collateral. And then finally the clips came in. I've got 120,000 clips now. It's crazy. But it's like, but I stood up to it, and I just wrote a really strong letter back and said, absolutely not. And it's been so stressful. And then all of a sudden this morning, I woke up this morning, they're like, oh dear, Michael, we went through our paperwork and we see that we've made a mistake, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, fuckers. Days and days of stress for nothing because these guys got their heads up their ass. Sorry guys for cussing, but I just have to let this out. And this is a new me. No,
it's true.
But it's true. This guy, it was ridiculous that he was like, and he was like, you're not going to get your next shipment. And then it's going to be $250 per day for them to store it for us. So we're not going to be able to release it until you actually sign this document releasing us of harm because you're the one that caught. And it was just like, I was just like, okay, guys, it was just ridiculous. So I just stood up, and it felt really good to stand up for myself and actually write something that was very, and I use tools to write everything. ChatGPT is my number one assistant, and it will always be my number one assistant, but it's just like, it really makes life easy for me. So anyways, thank you guys for letting me vent. So my day was much better than yesterday, and, not as good as tomorrow at this moment right now. How's that?
Right. At least the hard part's over.
Yeah, the hard part is definitely over, but I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to talk about this topic. Toxins, we've touched on this before, and we're, it's one of those things that a lot of us don't realize. But we're walking around our own house, and just before you guys were coming on, I was reading an opening statement, and one of the sentences in the opening statement says, toxins that can harm that can harm our pets, from floor cleaners to scented candles to these hidden culprits, can be affecting your pet's health more than you can realize.
Yeah.
Well, and I added to that, it could be affecting our health more than we realize.
I have always said the cats are the canary in the coal mine.
Yeah, I believe that.
Or pets. Pets are the
Yeah.
canary in the coal mine. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Thing that's going on in that, anything that's affecting them in our house is affecting us. Hands down.
Hands down. And we don't even realize. I just remember one of the things, and this was just before I was getting ready to start my start back up the pet's journey. And I remember one time Serge and I I'm really spoiled, and I like to have my washer and dryer in, at least in my unit or in the building. Well, where we live is we live in a historical building, and there's no space for a washer and dryer anywhere. I've thought about everywhere, but there's no place, right? So we have to go to a laundromat.
Mm.
And look at Jenny down there. It's like taking care of fleas, isn't it? The laundry.
I had a dryer break when I had fleas. It was awful.
Oh my God. So then you got
Yes.
soggy blankets that you can
Yes. That's why I made that face.
yes. Yeah. So we go to Winston, but we get really lazy because Serge loves to shop. I mean, he's like a brilliant shopper. We go to this one place and we bought this. There was like this hoodie. I kept saying I want one of those big black puffy shiny ski hoodie, puffy down jackets. And there was one that I just kept seeing, and it was like I just like the style of it. And so he goes to this one shop, and I don't know if you guys have it where you guys are. God, now I can't even think. I'll think of the name of it. But it's like a secondhand store where you go and you sell your clothes, and then they resell it, right? But it's nice clothes. They won't take just anything, right?
Yeah.
And so we go there, and all of a sudden I look up on the wall, and there's this puffer jacket, and I'm like going, oh my God. And it looked really small, and I wanted one that would at least fit me a little bit. But I was like, you know what? The brand is called Fear of God, and that's one of our favorite brands. And we looked up, and I'm like, and it said small on it. I'm like, let's just bring it down. It was $400. And I was like, that's a lot of money for a jacket. How ridiculous, right? So we bring it down, and he puts it on, and he's like, oh my God, it fits so good. And I'm like going, how nice. I'm like, well, let me try it. And I tried it, and it actually fit me really nice. And I was like, oh, bonus, we both get to use it, at first I was a little bummed that he was just going to be able to use it. And then I got to, I got excited because I got to use it, because I really was wanting to for myself too, so. But he's so good that he actually he spots these things like this. And even though it's $400, the brand is a crazy brand, one of those crazy brands. He looks it up, and it's like close to a $4,000 jacket.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm wanting to Google it right now.
It's ridiculous. It's like $3,600, or it's just like, I mean, so I don't know what got me there onto that. It had something to do with something in our house, but so we went to the laundromat. I don't know. Oh, so we've got tons of clothes. So that's where the circle is. So we have tons of clothes, so we don't have to wash that often, just keep our sheets clean, change out the towels. And we can go through clothes for several months because he loves to shop. So when we get there, we end up having all these clothes. And so we do these big bundles. We use the big machines. We use the big, fancy ones. And so we came home one night, and that whole week we both were scratching and scratching and scratching and scratching. And we're like going, what the hell is going on? And what it was that one, I use too much detergent, probably because I always think, oh, more detergent is going to get it cleaner. Maybe that's what it was, because we've used the detergent before. But I think that was more of the situation as I used too much of it. But it was just like, that's where this show comes into play, is the fact that we were sleeping in it for a week, and finally we had to take the shit off the bed and just get something that wasn't washed the last time and was washed previously, and use that, because this was just filled with so much shit in it that was affecting the way we were sleeping. We were smelling it, and we were just like, it was just gross. So this is, and this is all over our house, and we don't even know it. So, any stories like that you want to share before I give a list out? Do you guys have any stories that you came across something in your house that you didn't realize, and all of a sudden you were like, boom, there it was?
Well, I can just remember when I started discovering and learning about just environmental toxins that are in our homes and everything. It was probably mid 2000s, early to mid 2000s. And I started going through the cleaners and things like that and removing things and replacing them with the more natural, unscented, non-toxic options. So I've been doing this for a while, but my ex at the time loved his Febreze,
Oh,
bathroom spray stuff. And he would spray it upstairs in the bathroom that he used next to the office. And I could smell it because I'm super sensitive to chemical smells and I could smell it. And one of our cats, Lily, would spend a lot of time in his office because they were bonded, right?
right.
And she started scratching and getting like red, just like her eyes were watering real bad and she was getting these bumps and just I'm like, what the heck is going on with her skin? And I traced it to the fragrance that he was spraying up there that she was reacting to. And I had to tell him, you have got to stop using that toxic stuff because look what it's doing to your cat. You know,
You're like, it's a cat or you make a decision,
yes,
right?
you got to stop doing this because it is toxic and it's called a sensitivity. It's an irritant, and so
Yeah.
it's irritating and it's itching, and her poor eyes would water and she would scratch. And so I just don't think he took me seriously until I was able to show him, because when he stopped, it stopped. So it's like, hello, I told you what's going on. And just like a typical man, like you were saying, like, oh, more soap is better. Make it clean, make it smell good. One of the things I learned recently, or I heard this recently, was we have learned to associate chemical fragrance with clean. And
Yes.
it's not,
Oh,
it's chemicals that smell pretty. So we think because it smells nice, it's clean, but it's toxic. It's, these synthetic chemicals and very toxic chemicals that are very irritating to the skin. I mean, I work on a lot of cats through energy work and things like that. And one of the things that I find can be toxins like sulfates and sodium lauryl sulfate. Those are in your Tide, your grocery store, laundry products, your fabric softeners. They're in your household cleaners, they're in the floor cleaners. And so people they just associate, oh, it smells good, they like Lysol and they like Pine Sol and things like that because it smells. No, it smells like chemicals. And
yes.
I'll share one more little story because I just had to do this myself just recently. So I have, over the last several months, I have been detoxing heavy metals, which is,
Good.
don't let me forget to tell you how that happened because it's part of the household thing. And a, a mold fungal sinus infection thing. I was getting sinus infections all the time. Oh yes, we have our little.
We have our,
Everybody use their
yep. And
supplements.
we're saying we're detoxing. I'm detoxing with you, okay? Just saying, I'm right there with you, okay? Go on.
I have a white shower curtain in my bathroom, and no matter how many times I wash it, it gets that, that
Mold. Yep.
grime stuff on the bottom. And this is just like cotton. It's not a liner or whatever. So no matter how many times I wash it in my natural, non-toxic laundry soap, it just never gets all of that. Never looks white, right? So Jenny,
Never looks new again, right?
I thought of Jenny because we dealt with this in your house one time. So I'm thinking, I don't want to go buy another shower curtain. Let me just see if I can bleach it out. And so when I went to the store thinking, and there's this, it's like the devil and the angel sitting on your shoulder, like just a little bit, just enough bleach to get it clean or whatever it was. So I bought OxyClean or whatever that you have in laundry.
Right.
So I washed it just by itself. I didn't wash it with anything else. I just washed it by itself and I took it out and I'm like, whoo, that's a lot strong smell, right? So I hang it up in the bathroom and it's like airing out and I can smell it. I'm like, oh, this is probably not going to go well. Would you know I developed a sinus infection within a week?
Oof.
Again, a different, like, oh my gosh, what's going on with my nose again? Sure enough, sinus infection, and I'm doing all my energy stuff to figure out what's it from. Hello, toxins.
Toxin.
The cleaning products. I'm like, oh my gosh, I knew I shouldn't have bought that thing. So it's going in the trash. The product's going in the trash, and I'm just going to have to wait till I can get in the shower curtain. In the meantime, I'll just wash it, with the regular stuff. And if it doesn't, it's clean, but it's just not white, right?
I know. I just dug, you're talking about the mold in around the bathtub. I just
It's
dug out
it's
all our,
like,
I dug out all our grout all around the thing, just to
yes,
get rid of the mold and then regrout it and all that. And I'm like, going, why am I a plumber today? I'm like, that's one of the things I'm learning. I'm like, why am I a plumber today? Why am I an electrician today? Maybe I shouldn't be, maybe I need to just stick to, but yeah, no, it's
oh yeah,
horrible.
these things off gas, and we get desensitized to them because after you wear like a perfume or whatever you spray, you don't smell it anymore. Everybody else around you can smell it, but you don't smell it, so you kind of get desensitized to it. It was kind of like that. It's like for the first day, hanging up in the bathroom, I could smell it off gassing a little bit. But as the days wore on, it was less and less and less, and it didn't really bother me so much. But apparently it did, and I didn't realize it was affecting me. Every time I got in that shower, it would just,
Every
the
time.
heat, the steam, everything. Hello, I'm just breathing a toxic slew of chemicals while I'm taking a shower. It's embarrassing.
Well, it's interesting because I had someone comment on one of our comments or one of our shows just recently about food, and he was like, he worked for the food and he was sticking up for the scientists that were making. Oh, it was for Science Diet, right? That show that we did,
Mhm.
and he was nice. He was a sweetheart, but he was still like, oh, you guys need to do your homework, whatever. And I just simply went back to him. And I said, look, you know what? I said, this is not about the scientists. We appreciate the scientists. They're the best. They're trying to make a difference. It's the corporation behind them. It's the corporation running the manufacturing companies that are doing all these cuts, that are using feed grade meats and are doing all this, versus the scientists. The scientists, if they have it their way, they're going to have food grade, human grade meats for the food. And so it's just like, but you have to I don't know. It's just like, and I don't know why I jumped there. There was something I was going to say with that, but no, but it's like, but I did want to say this, and let's see if Jenny's back yet. I think she is here. Let's see. Add. I think we lost her for a second.
She's in audio only, she said. So
Oh, she's in audio only. Are
I
you?
think I hear Charlie in the background, so maybe she's dealing with Charlie.
Okay, she's chasing Charlie.
Maybe so.
Maybe so, but your first story about the guy that you used to date, with the Febreze, you said, I kept waiting for him to learn his lesson, and he didn't learn his lessons, and you came up with a different answer, and I was hoping you were going to say he finally learned his lesson because I kicked him out.
Well, we were married for 24 years.
Oh, so that was a hard one.
Yeah.
That was a hard one to do. Okay, and it was his cat by that time, right?
Well, she was mine by the time we left, but yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Gotcha. Of course. She's like, I'm staying with this one here. Has got my best interest. So, right?
Yeah.
So there's a list here. I'm just gonna go down this list right now, and I just want to share it with you and just kind of get your opinion about the list and all that. Because you were talking about bleach, and number one on the list is bleach.
It's so toxic.
And it affects their respiratory. It affects its irritation, and it can cause vomiting. And there's so much that it does for the cat. So it's really, really important to be able to, identify these things and do. And I believe, and I didn't have the time to do it, but I almost someone said that you can actually make your own bleach. And I don't know how you'd be able to make your own bleach without chemicals.
I don't know. What's really scary is that some cats like the smell of bleach, and if you bleach something or you use that as a cleaner, they'll go in and try to lick the bathtub or lick the floors or whatever. So you have to really be careful. I don't know what it is about that particular product, but it's not uncommon that some cats want to go lick the floor.
Well, and it's, here we go again. Look at the second one is air fresheners.
Yeah.
Look at the first two we started talking about, that you started to share about, is, bleach, air, and, and once again, it's breathing issues, liver stress, stress.
Yeah.
Air fresheners cause a lot of liver stress on our pets. And then number 3 is essential oils. And I don't know if I got to share. Did I tell you about the soap that I bought?
No.
Okay, so I'm on this health kick now, and I'm doing all this stuff. I've got my energy positive, and we're taking our own herbs now and really sticking to it and just watching what we're eating. So 2 weeks ago, I decided, because we're talking about, look at who's there.
Yes. Hi, baby. Say hi, Grace.
Freeze. Kitty, 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 kitty.
Yeah.
So pretty. It's just crazy how their color is so fantastic, and it's just like their ears are just cut out with color. Oh, she's back. Hello, darling. Video. Yay, we missed you. You're on the hot seat next, so get ready. I was just telling her about, maybe you heard, is like, since we've been on this really, like, just really changing our lifestyle, our food and all that again, the magnetic thing, we got to get back to the detox. Okay.
Yeah, we will. Yes.
Okay.
We'll talk about that else.
Okay. So I bought this. So we were at a farmer's market 2 Sundays ago, and I bought this soap. And it was homemade. The guy made the soap himself. And so that's what attracted me to it. Cause I'm like, oh, natural, organic. I asked all this, and everything was, except our item number 3 that's on our list is essential oils.
Okay.
That's toxic, and that's breathing issues, drooling, tremors, especially in cats.
Well, be careful though. You can't lump all essential oils.
Right. And I was going to ask you about that, because I'm sure there's some that you guys use that are okay for cats.
Yeah.
They're talking about more of like the essential oils that make our house smell clean.
Probably the synthetic kinds that are not therapeutic, that could contain, fragrances and things like that are toxic. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Perfect. Okay. So, so that's where I was going to go. So we're there. Okay, great. That's great. So I bought this. So of course, I'm always attracted to design and colors and all that. And all of a sudden I looked and I saw this one bar, and it was black. It was charcoal black. And I was like, oh, I like that color. Let me sniff it. And I sniffed it, and it smelled great. And I love the way it smelled. It smelled clean, right? Clean. And so I took it home, and he's like, use it for shampoo, it's all full body, it's just soap, right? I'm like, really? Even my shampoo? Get rid of yep, everything builds up on your body. Just use this for a week and come back next week and let me know. And I'm like, I'll be back next week, And so the one thing that I did not like about it was that when I'd wash my hair or wash my face up, I wasn't really conscious about keeping my eyelids tight. It would burn my eyes a little bit in the corners, right? And I was like, because I'm thinking about pets. I'm always thinking about pets now. It's like, whenever I pick up a product, I think of like, how can we use this for a pet, or would a pet, benefit by this product? So then I went back to him this Sunday, and he's like, well, how did you like the soap? I said, I love the smell of it. It was great. I said, but the only thing is, and he warned me about it too. He said, the only thing about the soaps with the oils in it is that they will sting your eyes if you get it. So he even pre-warned me about it. And so he says, I said, well, do you have one that doesn't have any in it? And he goes, yeah. And I go, well, can I get a little sample of that? I'll pay for it, and I'll try that for a week. And so he's like, well, here, let me give it to you, because I see where you're going with this. We talked about pets, and he actually sells a lot of it to pet owners.
Nice.
And so I'm on my, Sunday was just the other day, and I'm using it, and it still stings a little bit, but I think if you get anything in your eye, it's going to sting a little bit, but it's nowhere near what the essential oil was doing. But, it's just going to that nth degree of like, how can we get rid of all these toxins? And that's one of the things I've been thinking about, the soaps. And I'm glad. Let's go back. We're going to go back to you, Pam, in a second. But Jenny, how about you? With everything that you've done and all that, like we asked Pam earlier, like, have you come across something that was like, boom, right in front of you, that was so toxic that you had no idea you were using it? And it was, has there ever had that moment where you're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize this was this toxic for Charlie?
Yes, it was also laundry detergent. But before I get into that, there's a couple of things. One of the reasons, other than like the pain of like dragging wet laundry to the laundromat, that was so frustrating about the flea thing, is that you have no control over what products somebody else has used at a laundromat. And so here I have a hyperesthesia cat that is highly reactive to things.
Wow.
And I'm dealing with bounce dryer sheets, downy dryer sheets. So it is possible that day that you had all that problem that you didn't load up on your laundry detergent, it was already in one
Oh,
of the machines or
interesting.
in
I
that
didn't.
dryer coated.
Mhm.
So that's like, I took Charlie down to my parents' house for Thanksgiving this year. And I asked my mom to start using my laundry detergent 3 days before we got there.
Yeah, she did.
I love it.
So that it would be in her machines, and like hopefully hers would be out of her machines. So yes, like that's critically important. But before we worked with Pam, Charlie was on steroids, and one night I had a shirt on, like I air dry all of my sweatshirts and stuff, and he came to be between like my computer and me, and just laid down, and he was fine and he was calm and we were having a good night, and I was like, this is great. And all of a sudden he gets up and starts going crazy, and I'm like, no, we were promised a good night. What is the matter? And I believe that the laundry detergent, since I hadn't dried it in the dryer, it was even stronger since it had been air dried. So there's nothing to dry it out of it other than, evaporating into the air. So I then went and got one of the pods. It wasn't Tide Pods. It was like a natural product, but it came in a pod. And I put it in front of him, and he kind of like hit it, like cats do. And all hell broke loose. Like he just from like the 2 taps,
Oh,
he
wow.
just like lost it. Like he was like running all over the house, attacking his body. It was awful. So that was my biggest one. And I was like, darn it, I really like the smell of that.
Oh,
It's the smell that gets us every time.
I know.
well, God bless you once again about how far you go and how far you've gone and how far you do continue to travel for him, in these situations, because most people would be like, they wouldn't have been that you're so in tune with him at this point that you cannot help but notice something like this. But most people would see that and wouldn't even think, oh, he's playing, and like, oh, that's it, and leave it at that. And the poor cat would be miserable for a week or whatever,
Yep.
I love the idea that you sent your soap ahead to your mom and said, start doing your laundry now. Right?
He does laundry every day. So yes. Yeah, it helps. And I actually also sent her my dishwashing soap and my washer soap. So not
Wow.
only like the soap that you put in your sponge, like to wash your dishes, but also like detergent, dishwasher detergent.
Wow.
My question is, did she continue using yours after you left?
Pam, I wish. My sister does too. Yeah. No, she doesn't.
No.
I think she'd go for she is in love with her own laundry detergent, and it is way too strong. Almost makes me nauseated, which is funny because my mom isn't, like we used to joke, like couldn't walk into a Yankee Candle store at all. Like, like that makes me really, really sick. And so my mom isn't like that with fragrances, but like 5 years ago, she found this laundry detergent that is just atrocious. So no, I wish she would, but she hasn't.
And it's crazy. And it's because, like what you said, Pam, it's like we are so programmed to think that these smells are clean and this is what clean is supposed to smell like.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's called marketing.
It's called marketing.
That's what it is.
That whole, prescription food marketing. Okay, let me go down my list here real quick just to get through the list and see if anything pops out to you guys. So we have bleach #1, air fresheners, essential oils, fabric softeners, laundry detergent pods, rodent poison, chocolate. And I've heard that. How's chocolate? Because a lot of people talk about chocolate with dogs. Is it just as dangerous for cats?
Yeah, you don't want to have cats eat it.
I don't really think cats go for it like dogs do, though.
Yeah, cats, they're not attracted to chocolate, but it doesn't mean they wouldn't lick something if it was mixed with cream or something that they were attracted to. But you're right, Jenny. I think dogs are more apt to just eat whatever they're given.
Or find on the floor.
Or find on the floor or in the trash or whatever.
And then what about the next one for cats as well? Grapes and raisins.
Yes, toxic.
Again, it's one of those like my cat's never gonna eat a grape.
Right. No, my cats wouldn't. It's not a natural food for them to want to eat.
Yeah, because maybe people are throwing. I've been watching those murder mystery shows when I've been bored, because it's like enough information to get distracted, but not involved, And it's like, and it's crazy what people, I mean, it's crazy how many murderers we have in the world, and it's like, your best friend's killing you or your partner's killing you always. It's not someone you don't know. It's really strange to watch these shows. But people are always dropping all these different things in. It's like, so I was just thinking, like with the raisins, maybe people didn't like their cats and they're throwing raisins so they could chase them to knock out their cat. Oh, I don't know what happened. He was just playing.
No, I think I think it's more like you're eating a chicken salad and they're interested in it, and the chicken salad has raisins or grapes in it, and then you have to be careful.
Then
same with a chocolate, with chocolate, it's like a chocolate chip cookie, or do you want some
like
of the
ice cream or something creamy that's yummy.
Oh yeah, ice cream. I can see that be easy for them because they'd be licking the cream and enjoying that, and then those little chunks of chocolate. What about because we've talked about garlic for fleas, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here it's saying onions and garlic. What do you think about that for cats?
Onions, yes, but garlic, no. I mean, garlic has to be number one. The study that they did years ago that got totally hyped up way beyond recognition. It was just a ridiculous study. Number one, I think they fed like these beagles 70 heads of garlic, and they got sick. Well, number one, who in their right mind is going to feed a dog 70 heads of garlic? And a cat is not going to eat 70 heads of garlic, much less one. But if you wanted to do a little bit, maybe what are we using with Charlie? What, 1/8 of a teaspoon or 1/16 of a teaspoon or something super, super tiny? Because Jenny can probably tell you a little bit more because she uses it so much. But there's so many nutritional benefits of garlic. But again, we're not. No cat is going to eat a plate of garlic.
I don't understand it. I'm like, okay.
Not going to happen.
Okay, so now we're down to 10. So toothpaste.
What cat's going to eat toothpaste? But
right, it's because of the artificial sweetener in it.
Well, yeah, the xylitol is very toxic.
Yeah.
Yes, anything with xylitol. So you have to really be careful with foods and products with xylitol in them. But another thing that's really toxic is fluoride in your toothpaste. So that's like something you should eliminate from your body care products.
I don't know the name of it, but when I lived in Italy, I found this toothpaste that was very salty, and it was so unusual for a toothpaste because as kids it's always sweet and like, oh, yummy crest, or whatever. And I found this toothpaste in Italy when I lived there, and it's salty. And it's like when we went back this summer, my ex who met us for dinner one night came with a little gift, and it was so sweet, and he bought me a box, and I opened up the box and it was a toothpaste. You remember, that's how anal I was about this toothpaste. Okay. I mean, I haven't seen this guy like in 25 years, and all of a sudden he's bringing me a box of toothpaste, and my husband's looking at me going, toothpaste, really? But I'll have to look at, it's interesting because now I want to go back and start looking at all my packaging of all the stuff that I do use, and just really start to educate myself, because that's one thing I'm learning here is like, even like with that whole science diet with the food, the more and more, because I even did a post on it yesterday, and I did even more, discovery on it. And it's just horrible how these guys are it's marketing. It's just like that just like killed me. That one killed me. And so it's like, I'm really starting, like, I feel like after we do a show, and if it's a really good show and there's something that I feel like should be posted or something like that, like this list here, this list of 20 things, I'll end up posting this so that people can actually go and take a look at those 20 things, and they could print it, and then they could actually check it off if they have it at their house, if they don't, or whatever. So from there, antifreeze, that's in the car usually, and in the garage.
It's also in snow globes.
Oh, it's really
So
okay.
if you break a snow globe and you don't pick it up properly, they can lick it up. A reader's cat died from that kidney failure.
Wow, and that's what it says, kidney failure here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Wow. So that's how I was wondering how nerdy you are that you had to find this out. You know, I'm like, how did she know snow globes? You know, but
No, a
wow.
reader wrote me, and I was like, that makes me want to vomit. I can't, you know, it sucked how I lost my other cat, but like that would suck way more because that was something that you could have controlled.
Easily.
So
Yeah.
that would be really tough for me.
Yep.
And also, you know, like if you just, like Charlie can open my garage door, not the door that I go in with my car, but you know, he gets his nails in there and then he just pulls it open. So if your car is leaking antifreeze and your cat gets into the garage, even if they're not an outdoor cat, yeah. And you
Mhm.
might not even know that they got out there.
Right. Well,
And you may not even know your car is leaking antifreeze because when
Right.
you drive in, you're covering the floor. You don't see the floor, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So like I remember driving in, for some reason I didn't even know that my car was leaking oil because again, you drive in and you're over it, you don't see it. But for some reason I remember I had pulled out of the garage or something and because I needed it open and I looked, I'm like, what is that all over the floor? Like, oh my gosh. It's just we're not aware because we don't see it, right? It's covered, it's hidden.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Um, the next one I know kind of a lot of there's because I've done flowers for weddings and all that is lilies are bad for pets to have around the house. Palms are bad for pets
Yeah.
around the house. So plants, you always have to make sure your plants are pet friendly. That's really important. And then,
Can I add something to
yeah,
that? This
yeah,
is okay, since we're like in Easter season, a lot of people are getting the lilies
lilies. Yeah.
and for Easter and they're like I saw a friend of mine yesterday on Instagram. She posted a really picture of her lilies about to, it was like little buds and I sent her a little DM and I said, by the way, that's really toxic and causes kidney failure in cats. So make sure you keep your cats away from Liz. She didn't know. So she's a new pet owner. So just, guys, put your lilies outside. Keep them away from
Just
your
go
cat.
yeah, just or go get the artificial ones. They look so
Yes,
good these days. You won't know the difference.
I know. Yeah, just like anything in a bulb, I read like anything that's growing from a bulb is toxic for
Oh,
cats.
interesting.
So,
That's an easy one for me to know, but not for a lot of people. Like which one comes in bulbs sometimes.
My sister's cat got into Lily, and he spent some time at the emergency vet.
yep.
Activated charcoal was one of the things that they gave him
Yeah.
to get it out.
To
But
drink.
then
Such
she had, even though he was fine, he needed to stay to be monitored because it is so critical.
Yeah, it can shut down their kidneys.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So yeah, everybody, Easter's coming up, so be aware of lilies for sure, definitely. And then we've got human medications. Of course, if you have your medication, make sure it's always closed and put away. That's even for for kids as well. Drain and toilet cleaners. That it's just horrible. It's the corrosive chemicals inside those that are just poisoning for the cats and
Yeah.
dogs. Mothballs, paint and paint thinners, and then candles with synthetic fragrances, pesticides, alcohol, and tobacco. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so those are the top 20 things that people that affects pets. And I'll go ahead and I'll put a post up for that. So but yeah, you don't we live with it's funny. I have my bookkeeper gave me a Christmas gift in January because I didn't see her until January, and I opened it up and it was a candle, a really nice candle, and it's like it smelled great. But once we started burning it, because we don't burn candles often, it was like so overpowering. I'm like, no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. It's too much. Yeah.
And here's another thing that's probably not on your, I don't think it was on your list, but a lot of people don't even think about this, is the body care products that they use have parabens in them, and parabens are endocrine disruptors. So check the labels of your body lotion, your face creams, your shampoos, anything that is body care product. Read the labels, get your magnifiers out, because I feel like they make that tiny print on purpose so that you don't notice as well. So if you see parabens, toss it in the garbage. It's not helping your endocrine system. And if your cats are exposed to that, it can rub off on them. And guess what? They lick themselves. Some people's cats like to lick them, or they'll lick their hair, they'll lick skin. So you got to be aware of what's on your body that they are licking off.
Or that you're putting on them because, you just finished putting your face cream on and you're like,
and then you're petting.
Yeah.
Let's go snuggle.
Yes.
You're in there just doing your last thing for the night, Jenny, and all of a sudden, come here, little
Charlie.
It's Charlie, and Charlie.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. People don't think about that. I had a client one time, a dog that I was working on, and the energy of a toxin came up. So I pull out my toxin, environmental chemical list that I worked through, and it was propylene glycol. And I'm like, where the heck would you get propylene glycol? And so I asked her, I said, this frequency is coming up as a cleaner. And she said, oh, I wonder if it's in my Lysol. Or no, the Pine Sol. She was using Pine Sol on her floors. So I said, read the label on the Pine Sol. And sure enough, it was in there. And it was absorbing through her dog's paw pads. So
around the house,
we just don't know because we're not conditioned to read labels. But now everything I do is I go to the store, it's like I just,
Well, once you get into that habit, you do that, you start to, and one of the things that I haven't tried this yet, but I'm sure it's going to work, is that now, because our phones are designed where you could take a picture of it and you could copy and paste the text, because before you couldn't do that, now you can, and you copy and paste it and you can actually move it over to ChatGPT and say, what's toxic here?
You love your AI.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, it's amazing. I swear to God, you have to make sure that you do your homework and that the information is correct. Okay. Because it's pulling its information from the internet. So it's not just like, go ask this question, grab this and throw it up there. You do have to go through it. Cause I've seen every once in a while where I've rushed through something and all of a sudden I look back and I'm like, oh, I missed that or something. But so you do have to do your homework. Okay. It's not as easy, but it does. For me, it makes life so much easier. The note that I wrote that guy in France, I was so proud of myself. I sounded like an attorney. I even threatened him that I was going to cancel my order. And he's like, what? How could you do that? And I was like, but seriously, no, I love ChatGPT. It's changed my life right now. I love it. I will use it I just can't wait until I could actually have it so integrated where it is my assistant and I could just say, okay, now do that. But it still is my assistant. The amount of time that I save now with ChatGPT from when I would do it myself, everything, it's like, it's night and day. Just especially doing these shows because, I want to put the right information. And if I don't like the information, I can ask it a different way or whatever. And it's just like, and it just gives you so much information, like this list right here for me to go find this list and really have it where like, what does it affect? Seizures, heart issues, vomiting, coma, death, and see all this different stuff and be able to understand it. It makes it so much easier for someone like me, to be able to use it. So if you're not using it, I recommend you use it. That's my new little toy.
That's awesome.
Well, and also Jenny, that's where I went. And just when you asked me the question about Chinese herbs and all that, I actually went to chat and I said, okay, give me a list of, what you think would work and all that. And it gave me a little things that we could try. And so those are the herbs I'm going to get from Kyle to get to us and see if we could see what happens. We'll see,
Okay. Do you use the paid version?
Yes.
I have a friend who just loves it.
Yeah, no, I do because I'm an artist and I design and I draw a lot of stuff and like all my thumbnails and all that. I want them to be the same and all that. So I usually end up using Canva for the thumbnails. But now I've trained AI to understand my style of art. So it's making my thumbnails for me a lot easier than me having to do each one manually.
Wow.
Nice.
So
Fantastic.
yeah, so and they just added a new feature where it says, let us get to know you even more. And so you can start uploading, like I'm gonna like my brand colors and things like that I could put up there, and it will know my brand colors and my types and all that. And so then it will be writing like even now it knows my brand and all that because it types out my name and my my font and all that. So it's pretty smart. It's pretty amazing. And you talk about a memory. I mean, like for me, it's like because my other channel and people that know me from the other channel is like, back in June, I was attacked by a police officer. And so I had to, I kept really strong notes, and I was like, I was in a very trauma state in the very beginning. I was had PTSD and all that, and it was really hard for me to focus and stay concentrated. And with chat, I was able just to write in the day's stuff, and it would just clean it up really nicely. And I was able to add it for that day, add it for that day. So I have these incredible records. And if it wasn't for chat, I wouldn't have those records. Because I was, because I could just copy paste something and say, now introduce this and put this here. It's a great tool for anybody. And if someone's like starting a business, anything, it's like you have to like at least give it a try, But yeah, I pay for it, because of the depth that I go with it. So, but I hope one day I could just say, okay, hey, Mr. Chat, give me this on this today, that print it out this different way, and it has everything done. I'm all for AI. I feel like talk about AI. I had a doctor put on my hip today, and so which was good. It was like I finally got to see a hip doctor after months. But I'm like, I always tell my friends, I always joke, I'm like, I'm bionic, I'm the bionic man, the $1 million man, because I've had like back surgery, I've had hip replacement, I have a cadaver part in my body, and so I've had over a couple $1 million worth of surgery on my body. Just to stay young and fit at 61, right? But yeah, no, it's like anything I can do to keep me running, I'm going to keep me running by doing whatever I can do. And if it's AI, I'm going to put the chip right here so you can see it, and I can write Jenny on it.
Well, Amanda said that she has a hard time. I don't have a list of plants that are bad. Guess I need to use AI.
Yeah. Yeah, Amanda, like right now here, watch this. Okay. So I'm on it right now. Okay. And it already knows the history, what we've been talking about, because I've been reading off of today's show. So I have each show on ChatGPT. I actually have one file and this is the trick with ChatGPT, is like, I have one file that I just do for my shows, right? For all my shows. So because in that one file, it has all Pam's contact information, Jenny, that's why I asked for your contact information. If it's not there, it means I don't have it yet, and I haven't updated it yet. But it has all your information in there. So when I say, oh, today's guest is Pam and Jenny, and I say put their information in, it automatically knows your information and puts it in at the bottom of the description.
Nice.
So that's why it's like so important to do that. So like right now, so let's say plants that are toxic for pets. Okay, I just typed it in, just simple like that. Plants that are toxic for pets, and lilies, number one, sago palms, oleander, aloe vera, dumb cane. I don't know what that one is. Photos, devil's ivy, tulips, English ivy, peace lily. I mean, it's just continue to give me a list of 20 different ones. Jade plant, morning glory. I'll put this on there as well, so it'll be on the list as well. Okay, Amanda, so you can see it. Yeah, it's crazy. And a lot of these, when we're talking about for pets, a lot of these too, we could turn around and say, how many of, watch this, how many of these?
But Pam, like on aloe vera, for example, I give Charlie that George's fractionated aloe vera, and like that's fine. So that's the danger in AI.
Exactly. That's where you have to do that's where you need to do your homework. Cause just like there was a couple of things earlier that when we were talking about the scents, you know, the oils and all that,
Essential oils.
like
Mhm.
the
Well,
synthetic ones, yeah, we get it, but it's like, no, the real ones, there are some medicinal properties to them. So there are some good ones. So that's where you really have to kind of like clean up and do your homework. And then just so you know, so we had 20 plants before that were dangerous for pets. And my question was, how many of these are bad for humans? And 18 of them were.
mm,
So it's like line in line almost.
mm-hmm. And just one note about the aloe vera plant. Dr. Becker is a big fan of aloe vera for skin issues on pets. So, you know, no dog or cat is going to go out and just chew and eat a whole aloe vera plant. They're not going to do that. But you have to be smart in how you're using it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And she's using it for exterior. And here we're talking about interior, you know, because here it's saying can cause vomiting, diarrhea. So they're assuming that your cat's going to be eating it. So that would be like when I go to clean up, I would say, now, is this ingesting or topical?
Well, and if they lick a lot, she has a comment. She says, I almost lost 2 cats because they ate part of an aloe vera plant. So it's probably the amount that they're ingesting. You know what I mean? So if you were to take a tiny bit, if your pet had a hot spot or something and you're trying to soothe the skin, if you put just a little bit and you rubbed it on that spot, it's not like you're slathering it all over their body and they're walking around like an aloe vera plant, right?
Right. Exactly.
Using it in a really tiny, small amount that's going to be absorbed. Again, we have to be smart in how we use some of these things.
Yeah, yeah. And everybody in the chat, we really appreciate that you guys are here. I want to say hello to everybody once again. Thank you for being here. If you're not following any of us, please do us a favor. It just helps the algorithm to just let people know that we're here passing on this information. So be sure to follow us. And if you guys have had a question and we've been rolling along here and we haven't really been able to get to your question, go ahead, repost it. So I'll keep my eyes open for the questions. And then Amanda, if you see one that pops up that you see that we should bring up, just go ahead and flag me for it. I don't know if you can pull them up or if I have to, but I'll keep my eyes open. Okay. So please do that for us as well. Follow us and hit the like button, blah, blah, blah.
Hi, Jay. Thank you for coming.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you guys.
Michael, on Amanda, she said, I bet the source of the plant is also important, might have a chemical in the soil, which makes me want Pam to talk about tofu litter and glyphosate.
Oh, don't even get me started on soy.
Okay, so do you want to start there? Or do you want to start at your detox? Do you want to finish with your detox?
I want to tell the story about the heavy metal.
Okay, then I want to hear this other story.
Okay. How many of you use an air fryer in your house? If you use an air fryer, drop a 1 in the comment. Okay. We're gonna have some fun here. What I learned, okay, so here's something interesting. My mom, when she downsized and sold her house, she had an air fryer and she's like, do you want the air fryer? And I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. Because it was like, to me, it was like a big toaster. Okay. I could warm things up. I could toast. I could cook. I could, you can have all these features. I'd never used an air fryer before. So I used that air fryer when I moved here because it didn't have as much of a kitchen and everything else. So it was just like, I don't use a microwave. I'll use the air fryer. And then one day I was scrolling through TikTok, which I never do. And I saw this post about this gal who was sharing that air fryers put heavy metals in your food. And I'm like, holy cow, are you serious? So I started digging on it. Yes, it does. It's called antimonium. And so when I moved here, I didn't have chronic sinus issues and immune allergies and all this kind of stuff. It wasn't until after I moved here that my immune system started getting weaker and weaker. And I'm like, what is up with my allergies? Like I would wake up and I just like sinus infection and itchy eyes and allergies like I had never had before. So I'm like, what is the deal with my immune system? I've never had this problem. So I go through and I do the energy work that I do on people and pets, I do it on me. Guess what? Heavy metal was contributing to my weakened immune system. I was like, where did it, how did I get heavy metals? Because I had all my fillings removed several years ago from my teeth. Like heavy metals it was the damn air fryer, antimonium. Because that, and so I looked up, I found I have a chart on all the heavy metals, like the most common, most, I don't know, it's probably 50 heavy metals. That was the one that resonated. I'm like, holy cow, I am poisoning myself with antimonium heavy metal in my body. And I'll tell you, it took about 6 months to clear that out of me.
Oh.
And I got rid of my air fryer.
Well,
I can't do this.
I've got my assistant right.
You can't even have supplements.
Got my assistant right here, and I just asked the question, okay? And what they're saying no, but if it's a low quality one, yes.
This was a
This is
Emerald Lagasse air fryer.
Well, that's kind of like a gimmicky guy that sells a bunch of gimmickies.
I know.
Okay,
but you know what?
I wouldn't put quality into his products.
Why take a chance?
But I'm just sharing it. So we're doing this. This is why we do this, right?
Yeah.
It says right here. It says in most cases, no. If you're using a high quality one, a well-made air fryer. However, some really low quality fryers or poorly coated models can be leach heavy metals.
But here's the thing. I am not an expert on how they make air fryers.
Of course not.
Who decides what high quality is? Is it because you spend $500 on it versus $250? Does spending more money on something make it a better product all the time? I don't know.
You know why this kicks me in the, I have to tell you this. This is what's kicking me in the ass with this, okay? Is the fact that we have one and we use it, okay? And I like using it. But the last 4 days, we've been walking in the house and I've been smelling this smell. Yeah. And I'm like, God, it smells like something died in the walls. I feel like I want to open up the walls. It's like there's a rat or a gopher or something in the walls. And I've got Serge and we're ripping apart this room, that room, every cabinet in our kitchen. We're taking everything out to see if anything's rotten that we don't know. And we can't find anything. And then I was laying down taking a nap after my appointments today. And I was laying down and I was sitting there, I'm smelling. I'm like, what is that damn smell? And I write a text to my neighbor downstairs and I'm like, hey, did you use, manure in your garden this weekend? Is that shit that I'm smelling coming up from your house? And she goes, no, I wish. She goes, my garden needs it. And I'm like, okay, it's not you. I said, well, something smells. And now that it's not you, I got to continue to look for it. Right.
Right.
But I was thinking like during all day today, I've been like this air fryer. There's something wrong with this air fryer because I'm smelling this thing and it smells horrible. And we've cleaned it. And then I'm like going, well, ready for this one? I'm like, well, maybe we need to go get oven off and clean it. Oven off, right? Toxin. Hello. Why am I thinking, look at air fryer, oven off, today's topic? It's like, it's ridiculous, but it's like, Pam, I agree with you. We don't know what we're buying. We don't know how much money we're spending for one. When it becomes a fad and everybody's like, oh, air fryers, they're great. But it's like, I still have that same thing with even pots and pans. Like, I did the whole, like, let's buy ceramic. Everybody's saying, let's buy ceramic pots and pans now. Mm-hmm. Now we have ceramic, but they stick like hell half the time. And I'm like, what the hell? You're not supposed to stick, And
I know.
And it sticks.
It's
so
terrible.
What do we cook with?
I used to use that air fryer 3 times a day, and every now and then I would warm up my cat's food. Again, we don't know what we don't know. Yeah. I had never used an air fryer before, but oh my gosh, it's like, no, it's not worth it. I can't. I was so sick and I didn't even realize it because it's like the frog in the pot. It's like it just turns up the heat slowly. You don't even realize you're getting sick and having all these issues until you wake up one day and something really hits you over the head and you're like, oh my gosh. I was just
Well, this is the craziness about this kind of concept. What we're talking about today is toxins inside of our house, and they're all over, and we just don't know it, and we don't know where. And it's like, and like for someone like, Serge and I right now, we're doing our best to do our best and like eating better and doing all this. But then like I'm lying in bed and we're talking exactly about what my mind was thinking about. This damn air fryer smells. I want to just take it and throw it away. It smells like my grandmother's kitchen used to smell, It's like grease on top of grease on top of grease, and yet it's clean, but it's not. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, and here's something you just brought up is the fact that, people use those nonstick Teflon cookware and all that kind of stuff. That stuff is super toxic. I mean,
when it starts peeling off,
like you can't even have a canary in your kitchen because the bird will die. That seriously, I think that's how they
keep your
discovered
cats out.
so toxic. But think about it. If we're cooking on these toxic cookware things and those molecules are going into your home, you're breathing that stuff, your pets are breathing that stuff, it's going to affect them just as well as it is you. It's frightening. It really is frightening when you think about that. So we just have to be smart and, I say stop falling for all the gimmicky things, and, things that make our life easier were great, but they have a price,
Well, like I said earlier, I watch these crazy murder shows and all that, and the ones I love the best are out in Missouri or Kansas City, and they're like, "Well, I live back in the backwoods, and Molly, my cousin, and I went for a ride to go look at the sunset, but it was nighttime." Anyway, so I'm watching these. My favorite places. I'm like looking at these farms. I'm like, that's where I want to be. I want to live on a farm. I want to be able to grow my own vegetables. I want to grow my own food, and just, how, like, I'm even thinking, like, I'm looking in front of our apartment here, and it's a historical building, so they don't let us do much with the exterior of the building, even plant stuff. And I'm like thinking, okay, can I get tomatoes over there? I can put basil over here. Then I'm like going, but what's in the earth? The earth needs to be tested. I'm going to have to, like, the earth is full of metals and all that. So it's like, then that whole thing, it's like, where can we be safe? How can we be safe? And like, you were talking about your detox. So where are you with your detox? Tell us your detox.
Oh, I finished it in December, I think, or January. I think it was probably January. It took months. At least 6 months, if not longer, to do a full heavy metal detox on all of that. Yeah.
I mean, and where do we've talked about it before, but and you have it on your website, a method, or do you have a plan on your website, or where do you go to do your detox? How do you do your detox so everybody could hear?
I was using Cellcore products, supplements. I was using Ion Gut Support for sealing the gut lining, because when you have allergies, you have a gut issue. So I was doing, these toxins, they destroy your gut lining, they destroy your microbiome, they destroy, they just do a lot of damage, like a wrecking ball. So I was using Ion Gut Support. I was using, I think, NAC for a little while, N-acetylcysteine for liver and immune support. I was using the HMET. Let me see if I have. No, I was using one of these, biotoxin binder, for a little while, along with HMET, which is heavy metal environmental toxin product by Cellcore. I have a Cellcore account now, so if anybody is interested, you can reach out to me, and I can help you get Cellcore products so you can go through your own stuff. But
yeah, and which means, you guys, it's really, sometimes these companies, because like even like with our herbs, like when we buy our herbs, Dr. Kyle has to buy our herbs because he has to have his license up to date and studies and hours and all that. So it comes from, the right space. And so she has an account open with a company. So if you guys are interested in something like that, reach out to her through her website, and she can help you get some of these products that you might not be able to get on your own. With that, I noticed, Jenny, you're answering Morgan's question. Do you want to address Morgan's question? Do you see that?
No, but I want Pam to. Morgan said, Jenny, on the topic of skin, my new intake foster seems so stressed that she has hot spots on her ears now. I tried the Viaderm steroid cream and it helped, but I don't want to use it at all time. So after stopping using it, her skin is so dry and flaky again. Someone mentioned petroleum jelly. but not sure. Vet said no mites or fleas. She doesn't itch them either. Last thought is allergy, but we haven't changed her food, and I'm in the same town she was in.
If it's ear stuff, one of the things that I learned from one of the vets that I follow, I can't remember who was it that told me that. Dr. Katie Kangas. She says if cats have a lot of ear allergy things, itchy skin around their ears, most of the time it's food related. So I would suggest, first of all, change the protein. If you're feeding dry, take off the dry food. If they're feeding, like, let's just give example. If it's chicken, change it to something else. Just take them off that protein completely, and give it 4 to 6 weeks and see if there's a change. You should notice a change within a week. If it's getting better, if they're itching less once you make those changes. But I would definitely not use anything petroleum based. Petroleum's toxic. Sorry, guys. Find some calendula. That's really gentle and natural, and you could do a little aloe vera, just a little bit, rub it in. You could use Meow Mist too and see if that helps alleviate some of that skin and itchy. A lot of times the flaky stuff is also a lack of omega-3s, so you might need to look at adding omega-3s of some kind to the diet. And my food preference for that is sardines and water. So you can add that to the diet as well.
That's a natural way of getting it. So my question on her question for you is that she was saying that she hasn't changed her food. So it's the same food that she's been feeding her. So
Right.
when you're describing changing her food, it doesn't seem like she's changed her food. So that wasn't the thing. She lives in the same town and there was no humidity change. Well, I just want to say right now we're hitting allergy season.
Yep.
We see it, even in ourselves with our itchy scratchy formula. It's going out the door right now. People are just buying it. And it was really interesting. I had Dr. Christina Diaz on yesterday, and I think you jumped in, didn't you, Jenny, for a second? Were you were in there for a second? I thought I saw you in there for a second. And she was talking about and I never thought about that because people always ask, they're like, well, how do I go from Sidle Point to your product? And keep my pet happy, because Sidle Point is, they say it lasts like 3 months or, however long. And what she recommended, which was really brilliant, of what she said was is the fact that she says, like, have the Sidle Point, have our product, introduce our product, let our product be with your pet for at least a week to 2 weeks, so that all the herbs start to get in and starts doing all its work, and then slowly then get them, then don't do the next Sidle Point shot. So it's just like, so if you are in that pharmaceutical situation where you're doing the Western medicine and you do want to switch over, there are nice, healthy, easy, simple ways of doing it. And it's just asking. And, I've heard Kyle say that before, but she reminded me of it yesterday. And I just wanted to share that with everybody. So it is allergy season. So that's one thing I'll say is that, allergies are heavy right now. And we see it in our business. So it could be allergies. It could just definitely be just seasonal allergy if it's not food, right?
Well, we got to remember that seasonal allergies are a symptom of a deeper problem. And the deeper problem is an imbalanced immune system. So we have to go peel back layers and figure out, why is the immune system so stressed and unbalanced? So it typically comes back to environmental toxins, vaccines, flea meds, things that damage the body, that throw things out of whack. And then the allergens, the trees, the pollens and all that are just like the icing on the cake that just sets the immune system off, because it can't mount a normal immune response or a histamine release to things that would normally not bother them, but their immune system is struggling, so it does.
Yeah, if their system is really strong, it should be able to likely fight off most everything.
They wouldn't react if it was healthy, It takes a while to heal the gut. It really does, and it takes systematic methodology to make sure you cover all the bases. And Yeah, it's not a, here's a pill, there you go.
Well, we'd like to say that it is, and I always like, it's like it's one of those things, you guys. It's like a lot of times it seems like, oh, it's so easy to do this, and it's so easy. No, it takes a while to heal the gut, and then the other thing, it's like once the gut's healed, do you want to keep it healed? And
I
so
mean, health is a journey, right? It's not a destination. It is something that you have to be mindful of, and you have to be proactive with, like, every single day. So once you go through detox processes, let's say if you had flea meds and all that kind of stuff, and you've cleaned up your house and you've thrown out all your nasty, household products that are toxic, you're still going to have to rebuild the immune system. You're going to have to work on gut healing, things like that. And just be mindful that we live in a toxic world. So you can go outside and do your errands or whatever, and you're being exposed to environmental toxins from air pollution that you're bringing into your home, on your clothes, on your skin. You could be walking around on toxic concrete or glyphosate sprayed on weeds, on concrete. Who knows? I mean, we just track things in and out of our homes when we don't really think about that. So that's why it has to be an ongoing mindful approach to keeping the body healthy. So it's not a one size and you're, once and done. It's an ongoing mindful approach.
yeah, it's a lifestyle change for in every aspect, and that's the way I always like to look at it. It's not like a new chore. It's not like adding something else to your list. It's really pivoting and having a new lifestyle change and living by that lifestyle. And yeah, maybe it's going to require some more work in the beginning, but in the long run, you're probably going to save yourself a lot of work from all the side effects that you're saving yourself from.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Jenny also wanted me to talk about the tofu litter.
Well, yeah, the tofu. Okay, yeah. So tell me about the tofu litter. Where did this come
You know
from?
what? Let me just say this. Do you know what the top crops sprayed with glyphosate in this country are?
Soybean.
Corn.
Soy, wheat, rice,
Wheat.
sugar
Yep.
beets. I mean, anything that's like grains or
Yeah, I was gonna say
canola, glyphosate. You can just bet on it. Legumes, glyphosate spray, dried them out. Okay, so now they're taking corn-based litter. There's wheat litter. There's
Rice litter.
rice litter. Is there rice really now? I wouldn't be surprised. And soybean, tofu. Hello. Cats have, well, number one, soy is an endocrine disruptor. It messes with your estrogen levels, okay? And soybeans are highly sprayed with glyphosate. So why are we going to create a litter out of these products that are probably not tested for glyphosate? Because they don't have to do it in food. Why would they do it in litter?
right.
We don't know if our cats are being exposed to glyphosate and herbicides that are super toxic, that are residues are still present in these products. And so your cat goes in there and does their thing, and they're getting it on their paw pads, they're getting it on their fur, they're licking, they're ingesting it, and guess what? You have glyphosate in their system. It's a huge problem. I don't trust anything that's sprayed with glyphosate.
Well, it's just I'm jumping back again to the word prescription diet. That right there, it just shows you the marketing behind all this stuff and the stuff that they're just pulling out. And like they don't like when I was reading besides that, then I went to food grade and feed grade meats, and I did a thing on that and was reading on that too. It's like if they don't have to put it by the government, they're sneaking everything and anything they can.
Well, think about it like this. If people were informed and they knew what glyphosate was, if they had to put it on a label, like there's the presence of glyphosate in this product, do you think people would buy it? Hell no, they wouldn't. And
I think that they would, because they wouldn't know what it was.
Well, like the people who do know what it is, they wouldn't buy it. People who didn't know what it was, the number one, they wouldn't read the label. They wouldn't care. They're probably not in this tribe. But it's very it all comes down to how can we repurpose this leftover,
Exactly.
byproduct of a certain industry and make money off of it, because otherwise it's going to go into a landfill and we're not going to use it. So how can we repurpose that? That's what this all is all about. It's like, oh, let's take all the tofu, let's take the soybeans, let's take all this leftover corn, and let's make something from it that, oh, let's make cat litter out of it.
Let's make cat litter out of it. Scoop
Friends.
away. Spell that for me, will you?
Which one?
The word we're talking about, glycosine.
Glyphosate.
G
Yeah.
GLYPHOSATE. Glyphosate. And if you've heard of the company Monsanto,
Yep.
they were the ones who developed it, and then Bayer bought them. So yeah, Bayer, Monsanto, they're all the same club.
Well, I don't know if I said it on this channel, but and I'm going to say it again, is that I was dating this guy, and his dad was dating this lady, and she worked for Monsanto's.
Oh yeah, you told us that.
And, and I had friends that have farms in Missouri, and like we're talking about soybean, and it's like all that shit gets sprayed on all those soybean. And he's like, he would go and let his workers do the work, and the owner didn't do it himself. But when he did go, he'd cover up like he was in a hazmat suit.
Mm-hmm.
For all the right reason. And I'm like, Tom, why are you dressing up like you're going to war? He goes, well, I kind of am, against these chemicals, but we have to do it. Right. And so I was talking to her, and I said to her, I said, we were at dinner, and I looked at her, and I'm just sharing this with the room and everybody in the room again, because this is something it just shows you guys how deep it gets. But we're there having dinner at a really, really nice restaurant, not an inexpensive restaurant, one of the best restaurants they had in the town that they lived in. And her dinner comes, and it comes with a salad and all that, and she pushes her salad away from her, and I sat there and I'm like, well, why aren't you eating your salad? She goes, oh, I would never eat anything that's green leafy, anything that's grown in a farm, and because she works for Monsanto, she knows what's in it, she knows how poisonous it is. She goes, she's like, she went down a list of vegetables, corn, and all this stuff that gets sprayed by all this shit all the time. She goes, she watches out for all that stuff. And I'm like, can you work for the company?
It's horrible.
It's horrible. So how do we keep ourselves out of it? We just do the best we can, baby steps. I always say, you guys, when we get into these conversations and we talk about all these different things, don't get overwhelmed. Do your homework, do baby steps. I am starting to do a lot of different posts. And so I will go ahead and do a post on how do you say it? Glyphosate?
Glyphosate.
I swear, it's like my brain. It's like, it's crazy. Yeah. So I'll do a little post on that and just kind of like break it down for you guys too, so that you can actually look at it and just learn from it, because that's the whole thing. That's the whole channel's all about, is just to learn from everything that we're talking about and things that we discovered together here. It's like, it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and think about also if you use like what you use for weed killers in your gardening and things like that. If you look at the labels, scary, but Roundup, which is probably the number one weed killer out there, it is glyphosate. So, use vinegar, use like the 20% vinegar and water and salt. It kills weeds great.
And that's what we really want to dig into as well, is like, what are our key things that we can be doing at home? And maybe we'll do that next week, as what we're talking about, all these different toxins, and we'll create a list perhaps next week, is like, what can we use instead? How can we use our own natural formulas and make our own natural formulas? Because they're out there. It's just us getting off our butt to make them. And they're really not that hard. It's just, we don't think that we can. One of the things she said about Monsanto's, about the weed killer, is that she was telling me, she's like, Michael, she goes, and what's so hard about this company and creating all these chemicals, because she was like a scientist lady there doing all this stuff. She goes, it keeps getting weaker and weaker and weaker, because the plants are getting more resistant to it. So we have to keep making it stronger and stronger and stronger. And then we have to keep tweaking it. And it just even more toxic and more toxic and more toxic, because the plants are like, oh, we know what's coming out. It's Roundup. We know Roundup. Hey, Roundup, how you doing? Let's play together. Yeah, she said that they start to join hands and they work together versus against each other, and they have to like keep changing. So that stuff is really, really bad for you.
Well, and think about what it's doing to the soil. We wonder why our food supply is so toxic and not as nutritional, doesn't have the same nutritional value as it did, 100 years ago, because our soil has been so depleted, and it's you spraying all these toxic chemicals, you're destroying the very essence of the healthy soil, and not to mention the whole, farming, monoculture farming that these companies have gotten into. So, yeah, there's a lot of damage. So if you can grow your own food, do some organic gardening. You don't have to have a whole lot of space. There's like really cool inside plant things that they sell online where you can grow your food indoors on these little structures, and on your balcony and pots and stuff. So be a little creative and just play,
At the farmer's market this weekend, I ran into this girl. She was wrapping up, and so she said, come back next week and she'll explain more about the mushrooms she had in front of her, because there's some beautiful mushrooms. Now that I'm getting into mushrooms, I'm seeing all these like orange mushrooms, and I love the oyster mushrooms. Those are beautiful. And I think I like the mushrooms for their look more than I like it's just the visual thing for me. But she said that they actually grow them here in Los Angeles in Koreatown in a basement underneath a building. And I'm like, is it organic? And she said, because it's in an old building, they can't get certified as organic just because the walls themselves, there's no way for them to like, I don't know what they would have to do. But she said everything they use, the dirt, everything is organic and all that. And I said, well, can I come take a tour? And she goes, yeah, you could come take a tour. So I'm going to actually probably do a little live, right? Do a little live on it and do live on the organic farm in Los Angeles underground.
Very fun.
I thought that would be interesting, because like seriously, I keep looking outside. I'm like, where can I do my own little garden? I want to do my own garden. How much soil do I have to add to at least try to, have a good topsoil that will work without reaching too deep into the chemical soil?
Yeah.
I don't know. I do want to do it. So we are towards the end of our show here, you guys. What a great topic, you guys. Toxic, what's toxic in our house. There's so much. And you see, you guys, it's not just for us, our pets, it's for us as well. So it's like, let's make a difference every single step we take. Baby steps. Don't try to do everything at once. Do one little thing at a time. You guys have all our information. It's in the description. If you guys don't have it, go back. You can find Pam's, Jenny's, my information there. We're all here. Pam, we all offer time. You could talk to Dr. Kyle for 15 minutes. There's no charge for it. It's complimentary about your pet. Pam, she offers a 20-minute. Jenny, I'm sure, takes question and has tons of material she could share with you. So we've got such a, world of information here for you guys. Don't be afraid to reach out, because there's no simple or stupid questions. Some people are like, oh, this maybe is no, we don't know. There's a lot of stuff we don't know. So the more of us that get together and learn together, the more we can share with other people. So I appreciate you guys for being here once again. Pam, Jenny, so lovely to see you.
Yeah.
And our little kitties, they haven't been around that much today, just once.
They're hanging here on the floor down here.
And where's Mr. Charlie? I thought I saw Charlie. Didn't I see Charlie for a second? Did I see Charlie for a second?
Yeah, I took care of the licking problem because we are high pollen count and I have my window open. And so now he's gone to sleep.
No more
I addressed the leaky gut really quickly.
Really quick. Yeah.
Yes. So that's the other thing that I don't know if you fully covered this. Pam talked about Febreze. Did you guys talk about plug-in air fresheners?
No, but
it was on the list. It was air fresheners are on the, it's like one of the big
I
ones.
think a lot of people think of Febreze and they don't think of the plugins, and those are awful. But the reason why they're like double awful for a cat is because cats lick their entire bodies. So they're not only inhaling it, but they're also ingesting it, because I'm cleaning. So all that residue that Pam's ex was also spraying was also being ingested and inhaled. And that's the big difference between a cat and a dog, I think, unless a dog has tons of allergies and they're licking themselves anyway. But
well, think about this. The plugins are cat level.
yes.
I was going to say that. Yes,
They're down here with the pets. So those synthetic toxins and chemicals that are being pushed out are just nose level with your cat. So yeah, there's that. Just,
yeah, I was thinking of that. They, poor little Charlie like looks up and there's one staring at him plugged into a wall. Yeah.
not anymore.
Not in my house.
Not at your house. I know, not at your house. Yeah, but
no.
At your mom's house, maybe.
No. That's why I feel bad talking about like if she saw this, she'd be like, you made me look really bad, and because it would seem like she would use a plug-in, but no, absolutely not. But even before I found out about all these problems, I would have never used a plug-in, because that does remind me of a Yankee Candle store, and I actually start like my throat starts closing down when I'm in that kind of environment. So I hate those things.
Mm-hmm. I do too.
Beautiful. Well, ladies, thank you. See you next week. And
okay.
I think, and I may reach out for some descriptions from you in regards to like what's your home remedies that I can add to a list. So if in fact this is your homework, okay, both of your ladies' homework, okay, for next week, what if you have any home remedies that are homemade cleaning supplies or anything? And Jenny, I think you might have probably a whole list of them, maybe. Pass them on to me so I could post them, and I'll post them on the show and we'll talk about them next week. Okay.
Or just like more safer, natural.
Yeah. Some safer, natural, anything that's, a better choice than what we're talking about, bleach and all those guys.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for coming.
Yeah. Thank you all for coming. We really love you guys for being here. You guys are the best. Pam, Jenny, thank you for bringing your passion and your insights. I love it. Your stories.
Goodness.
Well, no, I really enjoy this. I love doing this, and you see as we get going, people we get a bigger follower and all that, but it's like, we get to help pets. And that's the best part here. We get to take the information we've learned and we get to share it with other people. And hopefully it makes a difference in their pet's life and in their life, because if their pet's happy, they're happy. Totally. Yeah. 100%. Okay, guys. Let's continue the pets journey next week. We'll see you next week. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm Michael. I'm your host. I'm out with my lovely ladies, and we will see you next week. Any question, guys, always feel free to reach out to any of us. We're here. We always want only the best for you.